Hello and welcome to the first history update with Andy Ackright. I'm Andy Ackright. I hope that this is the first of many history update videos because I love just learning more about history, and I find that every door I open, I can find even more doors behind that. I was doing a presentation at the Shawnee Indian Mission in Fairway, Kansas, presentation uh, on Springs and the Santa Fe Trail in uh, in Mission, Kansas, city of Mission, Kansas, and I talk about the Shawnee Indian Mission in that, and I didn't realize the talk was going to be with like their board, and it was very intimidating. But I gave a half an hour presentation, and I ended up being there for almost an hour and a half, just talking and learning more and asking them questions and asking me questions. So I love that. Things I don't love are things like comments like on the battlefield, the mass burial Battle of Westport site, right? So they did a video and said there was a mass burial of Civil War soldiers at 55th and Ward Parkway. And I get things like from one person, this guy needs to attain a deeper comprehension of the events. He completely ignores the action before the engagement at Westport. That's because it's a mass burial, right? He provides no evidence of burials at the site. Right. There is no evidence. Okay. And I, get some comments about it. There should be a marker. Well, okay, yeah, there should be. So let's look more into these things. So I can look through the Battle of Westport, driving tour, or go through some Civil War books, and do all that. But there have actually been a couple articles about it. Flatland KC writes, during one of her periodic walks through Loose Park, on a nice day this winter, Kelly Akers came across a sign she had not noticed before about the Battle of Westport. Part of the self-guided tour of the battlefield, the marker mentioned mass graves, including one near 55th Street and Ward Parkway. What? How about that? That's the same thing that I saw, and that's where my primary source, I guess, for the video is that this sign comes about that says there's mass grave at 55th and Ward Parkway. Now you have 3,000 deaths in the Battle of Westport. They obviously can't bury them all. Get coffins for everybody and all that. So soldiers were buried together, but it said it says, as it turned out, the sign on the self-guided tour alluded only to the temporary mass graves that existed right after the battle. Akers was relieved to find out she was not strolling over the bones of long deceased soldiers. Right? So they quote a gentleman, Paul Kirkman, who wrote a book on the Battle of Westport, basically saying that the Confederates turned and had to retreat so quickly that they could not collect their dead, and that the Confederate soldiers were then moved to unmarked graves in Forest Hill Cemetery. Now, if you go there, which I encourage you to because it's really great, Buck O'Neill and Satchel Paige are two of my favorites there. And Satchel Paige has an island. If you go past Satchel Paige Island, up at the top of a hill, there is a Confederate marker, and there are Confederate graves there. Now, I don't know if the bodies are in this hill or whatnot, but more to learn, right? A door to open. And so it says that the Union losses were limited, so historians say all the dead were ultimately retrieved by loved ones. So they were ultimately retrieved by loved ones. We'll see that. We then 435 magazine, or Kansas City magazine, came out with Secrets of KC, and they say if you're ever strolling through KC Mo's Loose Park, you might spot a few historical markers commemorating the Battle of Westport. One of these markers mentions the presence of a mass grave that was once located near 55th and Ward. Okay. And they quote a local history buff, Daniel Smith, who serves as the chairman of the Monet Battle of Westport Fund. And he notes that there was a McCoy cemetery, but he's not aware of any mass burials. So said there might be some random burials of Civil War soldiers around the area done by local farmers at the time, but it doesn't appear that there's any historical evidence for a mass grave. So the mass grave, and another source I read was that there was a mass grave, but that it was dug up. It was just quickly. They buried bodies there, and because I believe it would probably be pretty bad stench and whatnot to have the 3,000 and inhumane anyway, right? So that they buried bodies in mass graves and then uninterred them and identified them and returned them to the sources. So just wanted to go through that. Now there's a Battle of Westport Visitor Center, 4000 Baltimore Avenue in Kansas City, Missouri. Google will tell you it's open 1 to 5 on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. On their site, it's just Friday and Saturday, 1 to 5. And the building at the very front of, I guess the west side? Yeah, the west side of Swope Park has a museum inside of it. And it's pretty good museum. So if you have any more questions, then those would be good places to check out. But as far as there being a mass burial, basically it's no, there is no evidence of it. So why is it on the sign? Signs don't have anybody's name on it to verify. So it's a mystery. I don't know about interring bodies. I don't know after how long they've been in the ground, but I thank you for letting me come and tell you with this update to say that yes, this sign says it, but some people have looked into it. They've opened those doors and they've found that it is not credible. Not credible. We'll see. We'll say that. But kind of an odd thought, an unusual thing. And when I drive past 55th and Ward, I still will never look at it the same. So that is your history update with Andy Ackright. I hope that you learned something, as I've learned something, and wanted to share the progress with you, because we can't learn anything about history if we are not sharing what we've learned about history. All right. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.